Hi guys, I'm Cat Alvarado, and this is the Creatively Ever After podcast, a podcast for people who are creative and who have jobs and are trying to make it all work to do what we love, but also not die of starvation in the street.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Today I'm here with a guest and dear friend who is a multi-hyphenate. She's a choreographer. She'll introduce herself, but she's worked with some pretty big names. She's worked with Justin Timberlake, Paula Abdul. I think she did something this year with Magic Mike.
Oh, Chippendales.
Yeah,
Careful. The male reviews sometimes can get
I don't
muddy.
know.
Once shirts are off, it's kind of...
I know there were very hot men in pictures with you, and I was like, whoa, girl. And it was in Vegas. And she also worked doing all the movement stuff for the Elvis movie. Ooh, very cool. This is Dana Wilson.
Hello, friends.
How would you introduce yourself?
Oh my gosh. It kind of depends on who I'm talking to. The intro gets skewed to whatever their interests are. But for a Creative Ever After podcast, I would say I'm a creative person who specializes in movement. I'm a dancer, choreographer, movement coach, career coach. I like helping people move through their careers. Mm-hmm. I'm also an advocate, very big union fan over here. I'm one of the vice presidents of the first ever choreographers union. And in general, I'm a person who has quite a big thirst for life. I like living a full one. And usually that comes with feeling the full spectrum of feelings, ups, downs, and everything in between.
That's awesome.
You know this.
I know
you've
this.
Seen me. You're my neighbor.
Absolutely.
You've seen me on good days and bad days. And
I feel so lucky to know you because you are a life coach and someone who's so wise. And I just happen to get to be your friend and get to experience that. I remember one of the first times when we were becoming closer friends, I was going through a breakup and you were like, look, sadness and happiness are both part of the human contract of life.
Yeah,
you
girl.
have to feel them both.
You probably remember that like verbatim. It's what I always call it. It's our human contract,
Mm-hmm.
which we were forced to sign before we could even read when we came into the world. But yeah, the same is true for professional relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You will have, I believe that everything kind of falls on this perfect bell curve of a few really, really great ones, a few really, really awful ones, but the majority of them kind of fall in between.
Mm-hmm.
So a good set and a really great set are going to happen, and kind of an off night and a total bomb are also going to happen. And it's part of being human. I know we want it to be different because we don't like feeling unwanted feelings, but that is how it will be. And it must be that. Like if I offered you to take away every night that you bombed, would you let me?
No, because that would mean I never took a risk.
Or learned a damn thing.
Yeah.
Right? So we need them. We need the heartbreaks. We need the bombs. We have to have it.
Yeah. And if anything, to appreciate the good times. Because if you only had good times, it's like being a rich person. You never know what you have.
Well, and even I know a lot of really rich people that are miserable.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't equal happy. And happy I don't think is the goal. I at least don't strive to be happy. I strive for a full life.
See, already dropping amazing nuggets of wisdom. This is what I get to
walk dogs
with on a regular basis multiple times a week. So I cherish you.
Stoked. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Yay. Sorry I hit my microphone.
It's okay.
I also obviously am a mover. I speak so physically. I'm glad this is a video format podcast, but I'm sorry if I knock the equipment down.
It's okay. So the first portion of the podcast, I like learning about my guest journeys. And I know that you were a dancer for a long time because you have shared videos on your Instagram where you're like 6 years
tiny
old.
Peanut, yeah.
Yeah. Dancing. So you've been dancing forever.
Yeah.
But when did that go from just being like a normal kid who's really into dancing to this is what I want to do?
That is a good question. I don't think there was like a moment, but for the thrill of the story, I can create one. My mom put me in dance when I was 3. Mm-hmm. I have an older sister who's older by 3 years. So she went into dance when she was 3. So when I came out, I was around dance studios. And when I was old enough to hold my own weight on my 2 feet, it was into ballet tap combo class. That's where I went. And I think my mom at that point considered it a cheaper or more fun alternative to daycare, which really went left because dance is expensive, y'all. To do the conventions, to travel for competitions, costumes, edit the music, hire the choreographers. It's a lot.
But for what it's worth, I think a lot of occupations or activities are like that. I have a niece who's into lacrosse. And
extracurriculars are not cheap.
The mom was
having a
dragging
kid
her everywhere. Yeah.
Not cheap.
No.
And a kid in dance, definitely not cheap.
For
but
sure.
I started when I was 3. And at that point, it's daycare.
Mm-hmm.
They play music, but it's like, move like a frog, and kids are just bouncing around the room. By the time I was, I think 11 or 12, the studio that I was at was shutting down or going south, or something wasn't going well. I moved to a different studio and was then, really small fish in a bigger pond and looking up to some really incredibly talented people. And after a couple years there, kind of building my skill set and coming into my own. P.S. My older sister, Adrienne, who is now a physician and is also a coach, she was always way better than me. Technically, performance-wise, she was a solid dancer. But I was always the performer. Put on a good show. Technically, I'm not standing in the front row. I'm probably in the second row and off to the side.
I was like that too as a dancer because I used to do musical theater
Yep.
and I had the biggest smile, the most stage presence, always like just a split second behind everyone else on the beat.
Miss Congeniality. I was like the friendly one and the person with pizzazz or whatever you call it, X Factor, whatever it is. But I started taking things a little bit more seriously when it was kind of a combination of things happening. A woman named Nina McNeely, who is now a very well-decorated choreographer and fucking phenomenal human being. Nina McNeely transferred to my dance studio, and I just thought she was the shit. I still, Nina, think that you are the shit. And she moved to LA, and that gave me the bug, right? I was like, ooh, I think I want to do that. And then, of course, at that time, TRL, music videos, the VMAs, NSYNC, Britney, all of that pop was happening. And I decided when I was 16, watching TRL one day, watching B2K's Bump, 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 actually, that was the music video of all the fucking videos in the world. That's the one that sunk its fangs into me. And I was like, I want to do that. And my mom was like, over my dead body.
Of course.
She didn't like bar me from doing that. She was encouraging in her way, but tentative.
Which is
she
how
was
most
afraid.
parents are, honestly. They
for
really
sure.
want our well-being. They want us to be safe. They want us to be secure. And they know how hard it is to make it. They don't want us to break our little hearts.
Well, they know how hard it is to make it even within a structured, systematic world.
Oh my
She
gosh,
became
so
a flight
real.
attendant when she was 18, which is also where I get my union boots from. But for her to look at the art world and specifically music video world, I literally pointed at a screen with girls in denim booty shorts and knee pads shaking their ass. And I was like, I want to do that. I am rocked that she helped me pack my car and drive with me to LA. At the same time, and I have to shout out, Nina McNeely was a huge figure in my life, but I had 3 best friends, Misha Gabriel, Tony Testa, and Randy Kemper, and Chelsea Latimer, who is the daughter of my studio owner, who is a singer, a very talented singer and dancer. And we all pursued this LA thing around the same time, maybe a year apart. So there was kind of a caravan of us that took this on. I didn't ever feel alone or isolated. I felt already that I had a network and that it was going to happen. And so I think what a lot of people face when they get here, which is that shock,
Alone. Yeah.
that I'm away from home. I was 18.
I've had that. I've seen that happen with other with comedians who will have a community here in LA or just outside LA, and they'll move to New York because we hear about all that stage time. But they get to New York and there's no community. They know nobody, just like a tiny fish in a big pond, and they come back with their tail between their legs, or they quit comedy altogether, which is why I've stayed in LA myself, because
You feel a network,
community.
a family.
I'm better off.
Yeah,
with
that
people.
alone could send somebody home.
Mm-mm.
And then on top of that, the running out of money, the not finding representation that fits. Like there's 1,000 ways that this cannot work. But I I seemed to have ironed a handful of those out. I don't do drugs. They've never been interesting to me. So that one was an easy
Yeah,
dodge
drugs
that
and
bullet.
alcohol are a
Um,
huge pitfall people face.
I had a job when I got here, Urban
Hmm.
Outfitters. I worked at in Denver. They transferred me, so I had minimum wage but steady income. And
Hmm.
my friend group, like I really had a lucky go, timing and placement and people of moving out here. But of
So
course,
you
that's
move
just the
out
beginning.
here.
Yeah.
Now you're here and you're
Hmm.
pursuing it. What was your break into finally doing it professionally?
Yeah. So my first job outside of Urban Outfitters, P.S. I auditioned to no avail for a full calendar year, like 365 days of no. And then I booked a gig on a company, actually a contemporary, like more uh, less pop style stuff, more what you'd see in Europe or
Hmm.
the contemporary side of dancing with not dancing, you know what I mean? So you think you can dance, that sort of thing,
Okay.
like bare feet and pointing the toes, not
Ooh,
sneakers
fun.
and denim shorts.
Okay.
And that was a short-lived run. It was only a couple months, I think. It was called Evolution. The creative director was Mark Meismer. The cast was insane, brilliant dancers who I'm still honored to be uh, amongst. But that was short-lived. It was a very, very short time after that that I was on assisting Marty Kadelka, a friend, mentor, role model person in my life, and we were on set for a Reese's peanut butter puffs commercial, sitting on a fake stoop on the Warner Brothers lot, I think, and he got a phone call, and he was like, "Hold on one sec," takes this call. I'm just like kicking my feet on the stoop, and he's like, "Oh, bet, okay, yeah, all day for sure. All right, bye." Hang up the phone, and then looked at me, and he was like, "Yo, you ready?" And I was like, "Are we going back? What's happening? Like, what?" And he was like, "That was JT. He's going on tour, and I'm gonna need some help. Will you help me?" And I was like,
Oh
"Let
my
me try to
gosh.
not look like I just got hit by a school bus," because I did
Wow.
in my heart. Yeah, I grew up an MTV kid. I loved NSYNC. JT knows this, but JC was always my favorite. Um, and that, I mean, I wanted to be a backup dancer because of B2K. I think I helped Justin way far beyond what I was capable of. So for that to come around that early, it was truly maybe my second gig.
Wow.
Um, so I assisted Marty. I told him that I wanted to dance, and I had to audition with everyone else, like 500 people auditioning for this tour and music videos and accompanying things, and booked it. Went on tour at or started working with JT when I was 19. Turned 21 on my first tour. Choreographed a music video for him almost exactly a year ago to the day. It's a long term bond and family type of feel over there. But yeah, that was it. From then on, I was gigging or between gigs. I've definitely not always been booked, but I've always had enough going to keep me afloat. I've never went back to Urban Outfitters after that.
That's amazing. And I think that's a testament to that saying that they have that, what is it? Success is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
were prepared to step up to that opportunity. Because it would be so easy for you, hey, you want to come on tour, but now you have to audition for 500 people and
Fumble.
blah,
Right.
nothing happens.
Right.
But you were there and like you knew your stuff.
Yeah. I had been studying and like idolizing Marty and his style for that whole calendar year that I was getting no's.
Mm-hmm.
I was training under him, training to be the best possible fit for him and his work. And I think I achieved it. If not on that first tour, which was a huge learning curve from doing almost no professional work to a world tour, huge learning curve. Like that was insane. But I eventually 3 tours later felt, very in my skin and very at home with Justin, his music, and Marty's choreography.
That's amazing. And that also speaks to a common thing I'm seeing across these interviews, which is just hard work.
Hmm.
Regardless of if you're somebody who has that 9 to 5 or has gone right into that creative career, no matter what, you have to be amazing. You have to be dedicated and consistent and show up for your craft.
Mhm.
There is no, oh, but I'm a lawyer and I'm just going to kind of do it. Well, if you're just going to kind of do it, you might as well not do it at all because you're not going to get the success that you hope for. There is no magic wand that comes and gives you an opportunity if you're mediocre. And in creative fields, it is so darn competitive that you better be the damn best.
I don't know. I'm
No?
gonna
Push back?
contest just the one part.
Okay.
Because in the commercial world, which is
Mhm.
the space that I work in, right? My dance or my choreography exists to either sell a product or an album or a something. I'm selling something other than dance. And when it comes to the client's decision, which is JT's decision to hire somebody, or Papermate's decision to hire someone, or Amazon Prime's decision, sometimes they hire the person with the really cute nose or the
That's true.
person with the really great hair. And it's sometimes a less than stellar dancer in my path, like in the dance realm. I see a lot of mediocre dance working and making money if there's something else behind it, a charisma, a look,
That's true.
a level of professionalism. So that's not to say that hard work isn't required. Those people are also working hard, but I don't think you have to be the 1% to get a dance job.
I do think you can kind of sparkle your way into the middle,
Yeah,
but to
that's
be
a great way to put it.
you have to work hard and know your shit.
For sure.
Because
That's a great
I
way
see
to put
that
it.
with a lot of comics, especially now that technology with social media coming in. There are comics who are less than amazing who are blowing up on social media. Here's the thing, you're going to forget their jokes. You're not going to remember their jokes. They didn't hone their craft for years. Some of them have, and those have sticking power. But the ones who are just kind of blowing up and mediocre, they kind of have blips. Maybe go on one tour, everybody figures out that they suck, and then they're disappeared. And they're back to whatever their day job was. And just give it 2-3 years.
Mhm.
Or they'll have a podcast. I mean, the Hawk Tuah girl has a podcast. Anyone can have a podcast.
Well, anyone who's willing to work fucking hard and pay
To have it
some
be
money.
successful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I've had my podcast. I forgot. I think I did not mention that in my long list of hyphenates. I am also a podcast host. I started my podcast, Words That Move Me, 4 years ago. It was weekly at the beginning. Now I do 12 on, 4 off because, whoa, sustainability. And yeah, that sort of continuing, like you said, you got to show up for your craft.
You have to show up for
The
your craft.
continuing to show up is what gives you
I don't want
the
to
edge.
diss podcast because this is my second podcast and I know how much hard work it is. It is that much easier if you've already blown up on social media. I think that's really what I'm getting at. Like if you can ride a wave, you can ride a wave into a successful podcast. But back to social media and really pivoting towards technology because it's changed a lot for comedians.
Oh my God.
especially,
And
but
for dancers,
everything
hugely.
that
We used to have to audition in
Yeah.
person all the time. Every gig was in person. And now it's like, hey, send me your socials.
our biggest thing used to be doing these festivals, getting these showcases, and then eventually you get something like Just for Laughs, or you happen to be doing a set at the Comedy Store at the Improv, and someone who's a development executive comes in and goes, show me your pilot. And that was sort of the path. Or you become like a touring road comic and you build your following that way. And all of a sudden there is this new channel that completely upended the pipeline and the hierarchy of sorts of who was coming up and totally canceled out any of the gatekeepers. So it really leveled the playing field for better or worse. I mean, when I say for worse, I mean, there are people who are CGIing themselves into a comedy club and using laugh tracks and then putting that on TikTok and going viral. There's people who are lip syncing other people's stand-up comedy, so they don't even write their own, and getting millions of followers on social media. And then the original comic gets to just be in obscurity forever.
Whoa.
Social media really, really changed things for the worse for stand-up comics. And I would go to add the nature of comedy writing has changed because now writing is being optimized for the algo. You know, you write a joke that is a 15 to 30 second joke because that's all you really need for social. And something that's part of a more involved long joke. I'm very much old school. I craft a story. I've got a 10-minute story that like weaves in and out of like one narrative with jokes in between. And you know what? You take a 15-second slice of that, it's not going to be the same as a joke
Yeah,
that was
without the
written,
context.
optimized for a 15-second joke. But I'm a much better craftsman than any of those people. Not to toot my own horn.
But beep, beep.
But dance has changed too because
Yeah.
of technology, especially
Yeah.
with AI. We've
Yeah.
talked about this, but can
Yeah.
you share a little bit?
Yeah. And I'm going to flip the stage on you for a second, because it sounds like your experience of social media changing comedy is negative.
Yes,
But
for
I
the most part.
think that your attitude towards AI is very positive.
Yeah, this is true.
So how are they different to you?
I'm the one who's different. My attitude towards AI is yes, it could be a disaster, but I think if you can get ahead of it, you can work it to your advantage somehow. But we have to get ahead of that and problem solve and go, how do I use this to my advantage? Because if you resist it, which is what I did with social media, I resisted putting my comedy out there. And I was like, well, I'm going to wait until I have enough clips. I'm going to put a lot of clips in the algorithm bubble, when it was giving people a lot of views, passed. And all these people blew up. Now they have 100K followers. And I'm stuck at like, my little 9K followers at this point. And I didn't ride that wave because I was a skeptic. And I don't want that to happen to me again with AI, which is why I'm planning to lean into AI however I can. I'm still working that out. I don't know
Right. We don't know
how.
what that looks like. Even the people who created it don't know where
Yeah.
it's going and what it looks like. But specifically to your point about like people being able to take other people's jokes, put themselves in places where they're not, edit laughter in, like basically curate the appearance of being funny but not actually being funny, is what AI will help people do.
Now, yes, that's true on socials. And I've been trying to work out, like, how am I going to get around this? Because I also think there's a movement towards getting off of social media. There are so many people who don't even have Instagrams. Instagram ads and boosts don't do shit to turn people out to shows. So, what am I posting for? If there isn't a lot of conversion of butts to seats, if to convert butts to seats, I have to have 100K followers. That's wild. So I got to go, okay, what about live analog relationships with my fans can I do? How do I build an actual relationship with people who come to the shows? Do I get them to sign up for an email subscriber list? I'm working that out because the thing is, email is also a challenge because it's so spammed. So who's going to even open the emails that I send? I don't have the answer. It's a problem-solving thing. We're working it out.
Which good thing we're creatives and we can solve problems.
Exactly.
I think that's what creativity is, effectively, is problem solving.
It is.
So we're very well suited for this. However, to answer your question about AI, I have a lot of thoughts about AI. I think that AI was sold to us as being a tool that will solve problems and create more time for creative tasks. It will do the mundane parts for us so that we can go be creative. That's how it was pitched. But what is happening, because creativity and art is subjective, and it's okay if it's a little shitty. Some people even prefer shitty art. I'm one of them. I don't like pristine, perfect, glossy. Like, I'm more of a fan of something that's like got a little quirk or is kind of like not quite right. And I actually prefer work with a human touch. So that's separate from the AI. But because AI can write a joke, and it's okay if not everybody thinks it's funny, because a human can write a joke and not everybody will think it's funny. Creative fields are a perfect entry point for AI. AI will affect in a huge way, disproportionately negatively, the creative class. I think creative jobs will be the first to go because of AI. And that's where my beef is, because this is the opposite of what they said would happen. But people who made it, don't know what is going to happen. They're at the front of it and they don't know. So if anyone at my level or your level pretends to know what the fuck is going to happen, they're full of shit.
Yeah, we really don't know. But the way I see AI in the broader context of society is it's a little bit like nukes. there is
Like nuclear weapons?
nuclear
Okay.
weapons, like the Cold War, because China was going to make an AI no matter what. They already have brilliant minds, brilliant engineers. They've been collecting DNA data on their citizens so that they can figure out biosynthetics and make like superhumans who are super smarter than everybody, super stronger than everybody. Like China is freaking doing it, you guys. I've been reading reading a lot up on this. So the United States technology people were like, all right, we can either sit this out and be protective of our people, or we could get ahead and create AI also. And it's that kind of unfortunate consequence of this sort of technological Cold War that now it's being foisted upon us, just like the Cold War foisted the threat of nuclear war on us. Like, no, we didn't ask for it. No, we didn't want it. But it's what's happening. And now we have to figure this out. And unfortunately, I think the only solution out of it is for us to choose humans. We have to make a point of saying, no, I'm going to watch a TV show written by a person. I'm going to watch a comedy show live, and I'm only going to support comedians who are physically there and can make me laugh in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people are smart enough or have the wherewithal to do that, because they wouldn't even wear masks during a pandemic. So we're fucked.
I mean, I like to think that the audience has a lot of control, but I think before the audience even receives the thing to choose to watch or not, studios are choosing to use AI now.
I was literally reading an article about that this morning, about how, the WGA Writers Guild had the negotiations with the studios about protecting them from AI. And then the studios are not protecting their own intellectual property, IP, as we call it, if you're in the know.
For Tracy, do you listen to Smartless?
No.
It's such a funny podcast. And it's Will Arnett, Sean Hayes, and Jason Bateman. And they always explain industry terms for Tracy, which is one of their cousins or sisters who knows nothing. So it was like, okay, for Tracy, that means blah, 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 blah. So you just did a good for Tracy. Carry on.
Sweet. Okay. IP, intellectual property. They're not defending their intellectual property, and these AIs are folding in scripts that are normally to license something. So the concept of licensing is like, say I want to have a t-shirt with Mickey Mouse and sell that commercially, I have to pay Disney an amount, right? Maybe you could fly under the radar and do it. You're not supposed to, but you have to license intellectual property. So in theory, all these companies building these AIs should be paying the studios to use their content to create their product. In any other context, you would have to do that. They're not. And yet the studios are not necessarily suing these AIs. And everybody's like, why? And the answer is right in front of us, which is, they're going to use the AI to replace the writers. And honestly, they can do that and it's going to be fine. You know why? Because most people will watch The Ultimatum instead of a well-crafted, scripted movie.
That's the part. I think when you said audiences can decide to watch a human-made thing or not, I think most of them can't tell the difference. And that is why, to my point that I made earlier, that's why AI is starting here in this industry, because
it's the easiest place. Have you ever read or like auditioned for any like Nickelodeon TV shows?
Oh, probably ages ago.
Disney.
Yeah.
I remember reading those scripts. I still read them occasionally in an acting class or something, and they're dog shit. They're the worst. Could an AI write an episode of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody? Yes, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because it's crap already. No offense to somebody out there who's a former writer for Sweet Life.
It is what it is, right? Was it crap or was it perfect?
True.
Because people loved Zack and Cody.
They did.
So it was perfect for what it was. And AI can make something that's that.
And the actors, you have to give them a lot of credit, because those scripts that I learned acting using those scripts because I was a teenager when I was learning acting.
Great way to learn how to act well.
Because
the writing is awful. So
writing is awful. Yeah, you have to find ways to creatively bring to life the worst script of all time.
Yeah. Same is true in dance. I think writing and choreography, if you break down the word choreography, it means the writing of movement. I view choreographers as writers. I think we have more in common with writers than with directors in some ways, but we are choreographers wind up doing both, right? We write the movement and we direct it to the people and on the set. But I think that there is maybe the most key overlap is that bad choreography can be made good by great dancing, and great choreography can be made bad by bad dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And the alternative is true too. Bad dancers can make, dancers and choreography do best when they're both in good hands.
Yeah.
And the same is true, when you see a piece of work that's well written and well acted, your face is shredded. But you can see something that was like, oh yeah, this not really buying it, but wow, their performance. Like, I think
Yeah.
the same is true for dance.
One thing I think that is going to be sad for art, regardless of the form, because of AI, is that I think when, as a viewer, you watch mediocre art, you go, I think I'm not into dance. Or, you know what? I don't really like live theater. It doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if
You're
you're
worried
feeling
people
that
will stop
way,
caring.
exactly. When you watch mediocre art, you're like, whatever. But if you saw great art, if you saw great dance, a great in-person theatrical piece, you would go, oh my God, I love this. I'm passionate about it. I want to see more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the true tragedy, because you get, in the context of social media comedy, they say on average, people only go see 2 comedy shows in their lifetime.
Tragic.
And imagine if they get the babysitter, they go out to the show, and they see a dog shit TikTok comic who didn't earn their way to being a headliner, who just got to be a headliner. That hurts the whole industry, because now they're not going to want to go back. Now, if they went and they saw someone amazing, like if they saw an Anthony Jeselnik or a Cristela Alonso and they had their mind blown, they're going to keep going back. And now we have a thriving industry. I think that's what's sad, and it could happen to dance too. If you bring in AI, now everything's mediocre. And go, why would I go see a dance performance? Because they're not getting to see the creme de la creme.
Mm-hmm. It will be both, right? And you alluded to this earlier. It will be a blessing and it will be a curse. It is a tool, and any tool, if misused, can be a weapon. And it's AI, it's a knife, it's a car, it's the same.
How are you thinking you could get ahead of it in a way?
By using it, by getting familiar with how it works, by positioning myself as a consultant or supervisor. I'll give a perfect example. Sora, which is and it's a product of OpenAI, is designed so you give it a text prompt and it poops out a video. So you can text it, show me a woman with brunette hair, dark eyes, and rosy lips, and a green sweater and Uggs walking down New York City Times Square as it snows, and it would do that. I saw in their prototype before it was made public, which it is now public to everyone. Anybody can use it just as of like 2 days ago. I haven't played with it yet because I've been working. Before the AI takeover, I had jobs. Just want to say that out loud so I remember it. One of the prompts in its demo was a kangaroo does a disco dance. And I watched that video and I saw this little cartoon kangaroo in a Hawaiian shirt moving its little cartoon limbs around. It wasn't disco dancing, that's for damn sure. There was a disco ball above him, but my specialty, which Sora's will catch up to eventually, knows what disco is and what disco isn't. And furthermore, if we plan on having dance genres identifiable as something such as disco, or the light feet movement, or the funk era, or breaking era, or, we had cultures are defined by the time. And within the cultures, there's movement, there's fashion, there's, all sorts of subcultures. But those moments will be created by live people. AI might recreate them, but choreographers and dancers will still be needed to create the thing that AI is learning from. AI won't invent disco, is what I'm saying. AI might be able to show me a kangaroo disco dancing eventually, even though what that kangaroo was doing was not disco dancing, and I would have been able to advise them in a direction that helped them accomplish that. But I think to continue creating culturally relevant art forms, it will be done by humans. And that's why I think dancers, artists in general will always have a place, but will they always have a job? And that's where I can't answer optimistically anymore. I think people use this analogy a lot, the horse and carriage analogy. They're like, yeah, but when we had horses and carriages, there were people raising horses. And then when the horse and carriage went away, those people made cars. And I'm like, that's where the analogy fails, is that AI will be making itself.
Yeah.
There won't be more jobs because at least I don't see the jobs. Like there's no car in that analogy because the AI is taking away the horse and carriage, but the AI doesn't need the human or won't need the human to make it. Will we need software people? Absolutely, all the time.
I would also add that it wasn't the same person who was making the horse and carriage who then went to work at the car factory. The person making the horse and carriage got fucked, and then they starved to death and died in poverty, probably. And then some other young whippersnapper got a job at a factory.
Right.
And we use that analogy thinking like, well, everything's going to be fine. No.
But wait, Kat,
not for that person.
To loop back, and how gorgeous is this? What I said at the beginning of the episode is true.
Mm-hmm.
It is our human contract to good and bad.
Yeah.
And if we were alive during the horse and carriage era, I'm sure I also would have been happy and had moments of like loving my family. And I would have not been happy if there were not. Were there tampons at that time?
Probably
I just
not.
can't imagine enjoying anything about life before that. So I'm just like, if jobs go away and we have another depression or the creative class completely implodes on itself, our lives will still be a little bit good and a little bit bad. We will still live on a perfect bell curve. I refuse to make the introduction of AI. And by the way, this isn't even the introduction. It's been around since before the internet.
Yep.
The word AI or the term AI was coined in the 50s. This isn't new. This is just getting fast and getting real. So everybody's talking about it. But I don't think that this means everything will be bad. I think it means that some things will be bad and some things will still be fine.
Things are going to change. They're going to change for a lot of people in a lot of fields. And I'm still someone who is, 1 foot in the 9-to-5 world, 1 foot in the creative world as a data scientist. And, there are these jobs in something called MMM, marketing mix modeling. When they got rid of cookies, which follow you around the internet and you can look at the cookies and track who clicked what, when, where. We had to start using statistical models to figure out, if I spend $100,000 on Hulu advertising, how much does that change sales? So they've been hiring statisticians and data scientists to work out media mix modeling. But what just happened to me and why I got laid off in my previous job is that we figured out our marketing mix model. And
then you were
AI'd
irrelevant.
it. They hired an outside company to basically do an AI.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm on the job market, there's a lot of companies that are also looking for marketing mix modeling specialists. But now I know that that's a temporary job. It pays a lot right now. But give us 3 years, once the models have been built and the data pipelines are there, we're going to be looking for another job. Us MMM people. Mm-hmm. So I'm skipping ahead and I'm looking for other stuff besides MMM because I already know the outcome. Mm-hmm. And what's wild is to think, oh my gosh, is comedy becoming my backup plan to data science?
Oh my God, that's wild.
Because it kind of is.
That's wild.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But to wrap it back around and kind of conclude the AI conversation, it's not just about learning to use AI. It's about us coming together and, like I said earlier, choosing humans, choosing analog again. And I have hope because I see that happening in the dating space. People are getting off the apps. They're going to speed dating. If we can choose live art, we can protect creativity. But I think we're going to have to do it for each other and make a conscious choice to create a culture of going to a live comedy show, going to live dance.
But you can't make a movie live.
That's
you have a play, but do movies just go away in that model, in that future of yours?
They don't, but I think they're going to have to be sold differently. I think the best way to do it is to make the stars more accessible. And because one of the things I think is very fortunate living in Los Angeles, being friends with people who are in like producers, directors guild, dancers guild, writers guild, and we get to go to these screenings. And after the screening, you get to have a session where you interview the people.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask them questions. There's a panel, there's a host. I got to go to see America Ferrera and, and
That must have
Margot
been cool.
Robbie for Barbie. That was so cool.
So cool.
I recently went to one for the Lord of the Rings, the HBO.
Don't get me started. We will be here for another
Amazon?
hour.
The Lord of the Rings show.
I'm very obsessed with
You love it. It's the
Not
guys,
that no, I haven't seen that show, but the original trilogy is a work of art.
the
It's
man
untouchable.
playing Sauron is absolutely gorgeous in real life.
In the who is it? Do you
new one.
remember the actor?
No, but he's beautiful.
Okay, enough said. Carry on.
Fantastic actor. It's really cool to go and see the show and then see the people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the saving grace for real stuff. Of course, that's still the actors, but then you get to ask questions of the actual showrunners. So we need more of that human touch. There's going to be a limit to how much they can do. They're people.
Yeah, humans have limits. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole catch is that AI doesn't. But
They're
it
gonna go on
doesn't mean that
tour.
we can't. It doesn't mean that humans will continue pushing the edge of themselves and of their technologies. That is the only thing I can say with any confidence.
And we have to connect. And I think that if I had to give wisdom to people, it would be that if you want your creative craft to still be around, you have to physically, as a human being, support the other human beings. Because we have to save it for ourselves. There's no, I'm going to go in my corner and do my craft and then hope that industry still exists. Because if we all do that, the industry will go away. It'll be replaced by AI. But if we all kind of have a contract and a culture of supporting humans, we'll protect the craft for ourselves.
I mean, on the context of AI, I have a lot of encouragement and words of wisdom, if you will, if I flatter myself enough to say that. 220 plus episodes of a podcast called Words That Move Me. If you're interested in my words of wisdom, listen to any of those episodes. They're baked in. But in the context of AI, my words of wisdom would be simply to be very cautious if you hear yourself blaming AI as the reason you're not making your work. I think it will become very easy to do that, to make AI the bad guy and say, well, because of AI, I'm not dancing anymore. And AI does not have that power over you, my friend. You can dance. You can. AI actually can. So exercise that power as being a person who can make with your free will and your free mind and your free body. And separate the thoughts from the facts when it comes from how AI is actually affecting your work. Because it's not stopping you from making it. It might be changing the way you are hired or the way you make money, but those two things are very, very different. So that would be my parting encouragement.
That's so wise. That's so wise. And I see that too in the context of social media. It's so easy to go,
Yeah, because of the algorithm, I'm never going to get seen, so I might as well not do anything.
I'm just not going viral, so I'm just not going to post.
Yeah.
And oh, wow, I guess that's why I failed. And
yeah.
That's such a shield from the vulnerability.
Yeah, it's easy to have a villain like that, right? Did no one learn anything from Wicked? It's good to have a villain, but it's disempowering. It's not good to have a villain. When you own that, oh shit, it's me that's not making my work, that can be a hard truth, but it's also empowering because if it's me that's not making, then it also can be me that is making, no matter what AI says.
And it helps to have an internal locus of control. I found when I took responsibility for the fact that I'm not a bigger comedian, that made me feel better because I'm not like, oh, I'm not getting chosen. I'm not good enough. Go, oh, no, I'm good enough. And I'm not putting myself out there. That's on me. And suddenly I was a lot less sad. Oddly enough.
Because the empowered position is always, it's the desired position. Even if you are empowered in your decision to not be making, know that it's on you that you're not making. That's way better than feeling like at the mercy of something else, especially something not human. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. Or the system. I've been one to be like, oh, wow, people don't like thoughtful comedy about religion and politics
Yeah,
anymore.
I've heard you say it.
And I'm like, yeah, I could be bigger if I chose to do stuff that monetized more easily. And I'm choosing
But
not
do you want to? Exactly.
And I don't want to.
Yeah, remembering that you have the choice
Mm-hmm.
and you choose your way it's an empowered way. And or identifying that, oh, I've been choosing this as my way and I don't think actually I want that way. I'm going to change. I need to change something.
Yeah. And then a lot of people do. They choose to change the comedy they're writing so that they can make more money because that's their priority. And I know I'm making a choice to do something that will be less popular, that's less likely to be successful, and I'm owning it. I'm going, you know what? Mozart died in a pauper's grave. Van Gogh wasn't accepted, wasn't cherished until after he died, and he cut off his own ear because he was sad. And maybe that's my path. But that's good company.
They're great company. And it's funny, I never heard it and saw it or thought it this way until you just said it. Popular, with the emphasis on pop, which is another good callback to where we started my journey with dance and the pop world, will burst. A bubble pops and then it is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the nature of this, of the it moment or the it new artist or the song of the summer is like, it's there and then it's gone. And it's your choice to not be a flash in the pan or a pop that goes away, but you're choosing what might be less popular right now, but the popular pendulum swings like this. And if you're always chasing what's popular, you'll never be where the pendulum is. If you stick it out and do the one thing you think is great, you will be where the pendulum lands sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it comes to enduring a creative life, I think it's a privilege. I feel it's the greatest luxury to be doing what I do and loving what I do for a living, just to say that out loud. But I want to do it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it by chasing. So I've spent my time refining my tastes and my interests. And I'm now, like just now, at almost 40 years old, feeling like I know what that is to start building a home there so that when the pendulum swings, I will be there and
That's
ready.
amazing.
And it can come into my beautiful, tasteful home.
This is such an amazing episode of the podcast. I feel like it's dense with wisdom.
Yay.
So dense
Yay.
with wisdom
Oh,
in
I'm
the
so
best
glad.
way.
Thank you.
I have a feeling there's people who are going to listen to this episode multiple times to just like pick out
I have
stuff and think
podcasts
about
like
it.
that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Love
actually,
this.
if I may, I have an episode about AI where I go a little bit deeper in the context of AI related to dance. So if this has been a flicker of interesting to you, listener, viewer, at all, it's episode 201, I think, is my AI episode, where I go a bit deeper on some vocabulary, some ways that I think it can be applied usefully or not so usefully. So yeah, I hope people re-listen to this, and I hope that if you dug what we're talking about, you go find more of it.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. Long overdue. We had to
know.
reschedule this 18 times.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Where can we find you on the socials?
I am Dana Daners on Instagram. I have a TikTok also, but I don't use it very often because for a reason I believe that it's the devil. And so I have like its own phone. So I have TikTok on a
Smart.
separate device so that it's not like harvesting all my whatever. So, but because it's on a separate phone that I have to charge separate and turn on, so I just never touch it. So anyways, Dana Daners on Instagram. My podcast is Words That Move Me podcast, also on Instagram. And my YouTube channel is also Dana Daners. The podcast lives there as well as a lot of my other work. Yeah, I think that does it. Dana Daners, DanaDaners. It's like Dana Dancers, but without the C.
Thank you so much for listening, you guys. I'm Cat Alvarado. You can find me on Instagram at Cat Alvarado Comedy. Follow the podcast at Creatively Ever After on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm at Cat Alvarado Comedy on TikTok as well, even though I barely post there. But follow it because it's a thing, unless it gets banned. In that case, whatever. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. And don't forget, rate, review, subscribe if you like it. If you don't like it, don't listen again. There you go. All right.
Bye. Yay,
Bye.
friend.